So let's jump right into it. So today I'm joined by the amazing Penny Antuar, who is a makeup artist who's based here in Brisbane. Now, I initially became aware of Penny when she was living and working over in Perth in Western Australia. But she's been in Brisbane, I don't know, is it like 10 or 12 years or something now?
Not that long. It's nearly 8 years.
8 years, okay, so slightly less long than me.
Yes.
And Penny does a lot of work in fashion, commercials. She goes over to New York City and does Fashion Week there, all sorts of exciting stuff. She has got her own brand of makeup kit accessories called Kitology. And she manages to balance being a busy working makeup artist with also being a mum of 2 amazing daughters and 2 little fur children as well.
Oh yes, we can't forget them.
No, we can't.
They're very important to us.
So Penny, that's a little bit about your background, but do you want to tell us a little bit about how you actually got started as a makeup artist and kind of, I guess, the progression of your career and what you're focusing on now?
Yeah, sure. Well, basically, I started out doing makeup when I was about 14 on my best friend. We started out like in her bedroom. I have always been a huge lover of doing art and craft and anything creative. I've always been kind of really into, mostly, as my mum would probably say, mainly making a mess. But I think like I was always that really creative child. I was always drawing, always painting, making a mess basically. And yeah, from the age of about 14, I started doing my best friend's makeup. She always had access to amazing, expensive makeup because her family was quite well off, whereas I never had access to that. My mum sold Nutrimetics, so the access I had to with the palettes that she would sell from, and so introducing that kind of Estee Lauder, like that sort of more expensive makeup, I was really interested in it, and I started doing makeup on her because she always said that she didn't know how to use it. So I would do her hair and makeup and we'd go out to the movies and things like that. And then in grade 12, I actually did a night course doing beauty therapy. So by the time I finished grade 12, I graduated high school and I was also a qualified beauty therapist. So I went straight into work as a beauty therapist, literally, the day after I finished school.
Right.
And from there, my sort of makeup career kind of continued because I was always asked to do the makeups in the salons. So everyone was like, oh, can you do makeup? And I was like, well, yeah. So they were like, oh, well, we'll book the makeups in with you because we can't do makeup. So I was self-taught, but it was always something that I guess I always drew from my art background. I always did art in high school and photography for about 5 years in high school. So I kind of drew from that and kind of brought it into the kind of makeup medium, I guess. And after I did beauty therapy, I did that for about 5 years, and then I had my kids. So once I had my kids, I didn't want to work in salons anymore, and I decided that I would go freelance. As I was already starting to get kind of my cousins' weddings would come up and I would do the makeup, and lots of different bits and pieces would kind of come up where I could do other people's makeup. And then once I had my second daughter, I decided, I just want to focus on makeup. I don't want to do any beauty therapy anymore, really, because I was doing bits and pieces from home. I was doing waxing and tinting and things. And then from there, contacted Perth Fashion Festival and said, I would love to do makeup for your runway shows, and, kind of just weaseled my way in there, I guess. And then from there, I got signed with Vivian's Creative over in Perth, which was really great, and started getting sort of more, I've got a hair in my eye, more commercial sort of jobs and fashion jobs and things like that. And over in WA, there's quite a good little fashion hub. So there were some great photographers that I got to work with. And also it's a great little starting point for a lot of really amazing models. So they would always come back for Christmas, and I always got these great opportunities to do some really amazing faces early on in my career, which I think really launched, kind of made me sort of take off a little bit faster than I probably would have if I hadn't had those opportunities to work with those amazing people. So, and then once I moved to Brisbane, I signed with an agency here, and that's where I met you,
Mm-hmm.
Sue. And yeah, from there, you know, I guess the rest is history. I then started booking New York Fashion Week, and then went to Paris for Fashion Week, and yeah, have been booked for lots of great jobs since. So it's been a real snowball effect, I think. A lot of networking, a lot of family and friend support along the way, because obviously I started out when I had quite little children.
So tell me, what do you consider to be your biggest achievement to date, speaking of goals and achieving them?
Ooh. Well, it was something that I didn't think I would ever do, but I was lucky enough to work with the launch of Rihanna's beauty line. So that was really amazing to be able to, I guess, work with her and help to launch that in Australasia. It was a really massive achievement, something that wasn't really on my spectrum that I thought I could possibly be a part of. But just through, I guess, networking over the years, I have met some amazing people who allowed that opportunity to happen, I guess. So that was really great. And also something that I didn't think, like a lot of that sort of launch was based on education for the Sephora staff. So education has also been something that I kind of have been thrown into, but have found that I really enjoy it. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest achievement.
Yeah.
One of my proudest achievements, I think, and also, you know, probably the most famous person I've ever worked with, or potentially ever will work with. Like she's up there. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you've kind of touched on it a few times, and I think one of the reasons I really wanted to speak with you is this whole idea of networking and how you know that has been so integral in your career. And I mean, it's, you know, from the outside, it's very easy to look and go, "Oh my gosh, she's so lucky. She gets to work with Rihanna. She's so lucky. She gets to go to you know, New York Fashion Week and all these things." But I think what's really important, and it really hit home to me when you were talking at the, when you were on the panel at the Beauty Bosses event recently, and you were talking about how the unfortunate events around your Instagram being hacked. The thing that you said was, I wasn't really worried. Yes, it was inconvenient because it was at the time of New York Fashion Week, but I wasn't really worried because I had this amazing network, and I didn't rely on, or you didn't rely on Instagram for your work coming through.
No.
The work comes from your network. So tell us a little bit about that. How did you kind of really first start out, and when, you know, like, I think.
Well, I started before there was Instagram.
Yeah. But what gave you the guts to pick up the phone and call people? And
I think back then I was far more fearless than what I am now, but but I do remember my very first experience with that was early on, 2007. I saw a TV ad, and it was for Perth Fashion Festival, and I said, that's what I want to do. I would love to do makeup backstage for models, as well as doing photo shoots and things like that. And I didn't really know how to, you know, approach it or who to contact. So I just saw the number on the screen for Perth Fashion Festival, and I went, well, I'll call them. They'll know who does the makeup. So I just called them on the phone. There wasn't even mobile phones then, I don't think. And yeah, I called them and I said, well, who does the makeup for your runway shows? I would love to be a part of it, and I'm happy to volunteer, you know, my time. I would love to kind of be involved in that. And they said, Bobby Bujicic, he's the key makeup artist who runs all the shows. And I said, can I have his number? And they said, no. And so I said, well, how do you spell his name? And I wrote it down because it was quite an unusual name. And I looked him up in the white pages back then. I looked him up and I went, he's the only one there, B. Bujicic. And I said, and I called him and I said, hey, I'd love to meet up. I would love to, you know, do makeup, you know, for runway one day, but I'm happy to come along, clean your brushes, organize, get you coffees. I'll shine your shoes. I'll do whatever it takes. Like, I would just love to have that experience to get the ball rolling within the fashion industry. And he was like, let's have coffee. Turned out he'd done my makeup for my first ever photo shoot when I was about 14, or 13 or 14, when I did modeling for like a split second. And we got along really well. And he said, you know what? The best way that you will ever learn is for me to throw you in the deep end. And he's like, I'm going to put you on my team, and I'm you know, going to see if you sink or swim. And
Wow.
I feel like, you know, I'm still treading water. I'm still swimming, I think. Like, but I think that was probably the biggest like stepping stone in my career, was him giving me that chance to really learn from him. And, you know, he said not everyone will thrive in that environment. And I really feel like I did. It was something that I still, runway is still something I really love and enjoy, and it's not for everybody. But I think from there, the network really began to grow because I met Bobby. And from there, you know, I was seen as a part of his team. And then backstage, you meet all the models, and then a lot of photographers come along, and then you kind of, you know, network with them, and they go, oh, maybe after Fashion Week, we should do a shoot with this model, and you're all backstage. And then from there, I think it was the year after, I met my agent from Vivian's Creative and met her backstage. And, you know, from there, she was like, oh, I'd love to see more of your work. And, you know, it was just something that in the back of my head, I've always kind of been like, you never know who the person is that you meet or you're talking to, or what opportunities may come from, you know, just a small conversation. So I think I've always been the type of person to, you know, treat people the way I want to be treated. And so I've kind of, and always had that thought in my mind of, you know, this could potentially become something else. I don't know who they are or what opportunities they could, you know, create for me. So I've just always, I guess, had a bit of an attitude of like, you know, this could be an opportunity. So I kind of always would have a chat to someone. So, and I think that's gotten me quite far sometimes. So yeah, I think from there, the network really grew. And then from there just snowballed. Once I moved to Brisbane, it was a bit of a starting again situation, as it always is moving to any new city. But I was really lucky to have met a stylist from Brisbane who literally, she moved to Perth and I moved to Brisbane. But in that kind of moment, we did one shoot together on Rottnest Island in Perth together. And she was like, I should introduce you to my agent, like for when you move over to Brisbane. And she kind of connected us. And then I literally had an agent as soon as I moved to Brisbane. And from there, that got the kind of networking ball rolling again. And yeah, it just kind of continued, and it's still continuing. Like it will never end.
It's always
so important to have those relationships. And like I said about the Instagram thing, I don't think a huge percentage of my, I guess, working relationships have started from Instagram, but especially initially, but it definitely is something that can create relationships. I think it is a great way to be able to connect with people and things like that. But a lot of my clients, you know, like I work today for one of my clients, and I've been working with her for 6 years. So on their shoots, and it's something that's, you know, I really value. And I hope my clients really value, you know, that kind of relationship that you build where you can kind of have, you know, a safe space and, you know, really get great results from the photo shoots that you do. So very important.
So if we can just back step a little bit, when you first made this phone call to Bobby, so all you'd really done back then was a couple of friends' weddings. Had you actually done any photo shoots? Did you have much of a portfolio to speak of?
I'd done some extremely average work.
Yeah.
I had like a small portfolio of like, Perth is very small. You don't need social media in Perth. It's like the smallest place ever. But I'd reached out to a few photographers, was lucky enough to still know my old agent, who was like, I was with Chadwick's models when I was younger. And then from there I was with Vivian's models, and all those people were still there. Yeah. So I was that person who would just go in there and be like, hey guys, I do makeup now. And they're like, oh my gosh, Penny, like, what are you doing? And, you know, so I was able to do quite a few test shoots with models, which is great. And the caliber of models in Perth is really high. So I think early out, I was fairly spoiled with, you know, the types of faces I was working on, which in turn really gets you some great imagery. Some of the level of photography was interesting, but now when I think back of the photos that I showed Bobby to get onto that team, I'm like, oh my gosh, how awful. But it's a learning curve, and it's a growing thing, a taste level, I guess, development as well. But I think he could see some drive within me, and potentially maybe some talent or potential to grow. I don't know what made him give me a chance. Maybe it was just my pure, I don't know, like crazy ambitiousness. I don't know. But I don't know. I think sometimes things just always happen for a reason. And maybe he just had a gut instinct to go, you know what, give her a go. And it's really launched my career. That was definitely a pivotal point in my career that literally made it take off. Because initially the photographers who I had shot with, I think I'd done some shoots for like, I forget the names of those, but they were like, booby magazines back then.
Yeah.
If you got to do a glam smoky eye, and
Zoo Weekly.
If you show anyone, that's what it was, Zoo. And you crop it like that to show anyone the work, So it was definitely like, they
don't even exist.
I didn't start out shooting Vogue, like that's for sure. So
yeah.
I don't think anyone does. But I think that's what develops, your gut instinct. It develops your taste level, and it really, I guess is a definitely an important instrument in, developing a great career. Like, I think if everyone started, where they want to end up, it's kind of not, you don't
exactly.
grow. You don't grow. Now I think a lot of people don't realize, they think, they've got an Instagram and can put their work on a website, and it's quite an affordable way to do it. Whereas back in the day, I invested a lot of money in just my portfolio. So, and also sometimes I would pay photographers to shoot as well for my portfolio if I wanted just that next level of work that, those sort of photographers just didn't have time to do for free. So, it was kind of, a great way to start out before social media. I think it's really taught me a lot. I think definitely it was a lot harder. People don't see your work unless you show it to them in their face. And so, we used to do go-sees. We'd go and meet people. And I think it's great though. Like now on set, people are like, oh, you're so friendly and, so personable. And I think that was early on in my career. Like you had to sell yourself. Face to face. So, I think that's a great thing that I learned back then. And I am really grateful that I started before the social media thing. And, it has given me that whole perspective of if my Instagram goes away, my bookings aren't going away. So, and I think a lot of people should actually not rely 100% on their Instagram. Like Instagram does get me work, and it, is a great visual playground basically, which as an artist, it's just like heaven really. Like I'm such a visual learner and such a visual person that it's like great, but there's no way I want to rely on that, because it's literally putting your fate in someone else's hands really.
Exactly.
A platform's hands really. So, but a lot of people will kind of network through social media now. I think it's more common, but I think face-to-face building those relationships is your most important tool, I think, as an artist.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, that's important too, because we hear from so many photographers that, I get all these makeup artists contacting me through social media wanting to work with them. And I think, something that I really try and teach my students is you've got to do something a little bit different. And sometimes going old school, like what we did when we were starting out, is call them up, pick up the phone. People don't get on the phone anymore. Or just say, can we meet for a coffee? Can I take you out for a coffee? Because as you say, once you get in front of them face to face,
they can't resist.
Exactly. And then it's not so much about you're just another nameless face makeup artist. You're that person that they've met. So
I agree. Like as much as people don't like phone calls anymore, like that would be something that would be really different for me, for an assistant to do. Like I get so many DMs on my Instagram, it just becomes like everyone just melds into one. Like because you can't put a face to a name. You don't know that person. and it's quite impersonal. So
Yeah.
I think sometimes going old school is like, would just throw people. And I think, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about that for a minute, because I did get one really great question about assisting from one of the group, and she wanted to know what you look for in an assistant.
When I look for what I want in an assistant is, I need someone nowadays, which is very different to old school assisting, where you just needed someone to keep you tidy, clean your brushes. If you've got nothing to do, clean all my palettes, clean out my kit, make sure I've got enough, stock of disposables and things like that, and make sure everything's topped up. And also potentially, if there's lots of talent, prep skin / do the makeup and hair. Whereas now it's more, I need someone to create great content, get videos, take photos, those sorts of things that are just another aspect of assisting now. And to be perfectly honest, it's really hard to find people who are good at that.
Yeah.
Because I'm fussy. And also have had assistants before who have like a Samsung, and then they take all this great content, but then I can't get it because they can't airdrop.
Yeah.
So it's like different things like that, that are kind of what I need an assistant for now, is sort of more to capture behind the scenes videos or photos. I've had a couple who are really good, but they don't last very long because then they go out and do their own thing. That's the one thing I want from an assistant though. Like, I just don't want to leave a job with dirty brushes. Like, I at least just want them cleaned. Yeah. So then I can go and shampoo them, like, later on if they need it. But that's probably the one thing, is like, if I have an assistant and I get home and my brushes are dirty, I'm like, what's the point?
Exactly. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
But it's mostly having someone who makes your life easier on set.
Okay, so you mentioned before about enjoying the time that you have with your family, and we see Michael come along, Mr. Penny, as the joke. And your daughters too, and that they're a part of your social media life, I guess.
Yes.
But tell me, how do you? And I guess it is easier, and I know my kids are teenagers now.
Yes.
My eldest one's off gallivanting around Europe as we.
Oh my gosh, are you okay?
Yeah, I am. I'm like super jealous though.
I bet.
So jealous, it's crazy. But it does, it does get easier as they get older and they have their own jobs and they start looking after themselves a bit more.
Yeah.
But, more so, and I find that a lot of people like you did and I did become makeup artists around that time that they first have children. So it is a real juggling act. And how did you balance that? Are your family in Perth or here? And how do you kind of keep that balance with such a busy work schedule?
Ooh, I think I'm still navigating a balance. I'm learning to say no more now for the welfare of my kids. I think early on I was so driven that sometimes I don't think they ever feel like they were neglected, but like, I know that I was like hard out trying to build a career, and they went to a lot of babysitters. It was a real struggle internally as a mum, and I know any person who has children knows that mum guilt, and it never goes away. I still have it. And I'm still trying to find that balance, I think. But I think now that my children are a bit older, and living in Brisbane, we have a lot of family here too. But when they were little, I would just, do call in favors. I felt like I was constantly calling in favors for people. And because this work is so last minute, photo shoots aren't booked 3 months ahead. They're booked 3 days ahead. Yeah. And if there's a weather change or whatever, then that shoot doesn't go ahead. It goes ahead 2 days after or whatever. So it is something that I still find hard to balance. But now I think my children often navigate how much work I'll take on. Like this season, they kind of voiced to me that they're like, can you not go to New York Fashion Week? They're like, we just want you here, Mum. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. that's cool with me. Fashion Week's not going anywhere. Like I feel like I've worked so hard to buid a reputation and a career that I'm hopefully at a point now where if I do say no to a few things or miss a few seasons of Fashion Week, it's not going to impact being able to go later on. So I think being able to really, I guess, gauge what your children need or your husband needs as well is, I guess, a part of learning about that balance and creating that balance. And when your child says to you, I need you, go, you know what, I'm here. So, and because there's been many times where I haven't been able to be there, where, you know, I've missed assemblies where they get awards, where I've missed, you know, lots of different things that, you know, I missed my daughter's 10th birthday. I mean, that's double digits. But I was in New York for Fashion Week with Fenty, which was a really huge opportunity. But I think also creating a balance within your life, I've tried to create balanced humans. So, you know, my beautiful daughter said to me, like, you know, I'm that person, I'm like in tears. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm leaving you for your 10th birthday. And, you know, she was crying, she was upset, but she was like, Mum, you're so talented, you have to do it for your career. She's like, you'll come back after. And, you know, that just melts your heart. And you go, you know what, like, they understand to a certain extent. And then in those moments where they really need you to be there for them, like, you know, that daughter now is 13. She's turning 13. I've been told 12 days. So, you know, and now she's saying, Mum, I need you here. And I'm like, cool, I can be here. So it's hard though. I will never tell anyone that it's easy.
It is hard.
It's really hard. And it's a real internal struggle a lot of the time, you know, like, because you love your job. Like, I know I love my job, and you wouldn't do it if you didn't love it. You'd be an idiot because it's crazy. But you also love your family and your children. And, you know, so there's always this pull between, like, you know, your passion and hobby almost, which is your work, but also, you know, these humans that you've created. Like, and so I find it really hard. But I think nowadays I'm getting better at, I think, following my gut instinct of, this is going to be worth time away from family and this is not.
All right, now I'm going to ask you about your other little venture. A little while ago now, was it about a year ago, you launched your own brand, Kitology?
Yes.
So
9 months ago.
9 months ago.
Yes.
Speaking of babies.
Yes, very baby.
Tell us a little bit about what prompted you to create that line and what it's all about.
So basically it's a small range of kit accessories at this stage. I saw a little bit of a gap in the market, in the Australian market mostly, of, you know, like just kit accessories that didn't only like work functionally, but kind of looked a bit chic, had like, you know, a bit of a vibe about the brand. I always thought, you know, I work in the fashion industry. I want my kit to like look chic as well. Like, you know, I want it to kind of emulate, you know, basically what I'm here working to achieve, like, you know, chic images and, you know, great sort of fashion content, I guess. So, yeah, I found like a lot of things in the industry were either just cutesy or, you know, it was just very functional and no, like, you know, real, I guess, style about them. So, and I wanted stuff as well that like can get trashed. So, because I feel like I travel the world, I'm like, I use my kit day in, day out. I need stuff that's going to not break on me. I need good zips. I need, you know, thick, you know, plastics. I need stuff that's actually going to be functional. And a few of the things that I already had in my kit, I was happy with to a certain extent, but then I kind of had this great opportunity with a friend of mine who like it all honestly just happened so organically. She was kind of like, oh, like if you were to ever do something, like, you know, you should really think about your future, like, because what happens if your arms get chopped off, or you know, like, or what happens if you get, you know, arthritis and you can't do makeup, like what are you going to do? And I was like, oh, this is a very adult question. I'm like, oh, I don't want to think about that superannuation and stuff, no thanks. Yeah, so, you know, it was very real, but also as a friend, she was just like, you know, what are you going to do? And I was like, oh, well, I think I love kit organisation, so I would potentially do something along those lines, you know, if I was to do something. She was like, oh, can you show me your kit? And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Like, you know, and as a makeup artist, you just don't think about it. Like, you're like, that's just how you do it as a makeup artist. But for someone who's never encountered a makeup artist kit before, they wouldn't have a clue how you carry everything or, you know, store everything and things like that. And so she was really intrigued when I kind of showed her, you know, the kind of pouches that I had and stuff like that. And then she kind of went away and then came back like a week later, and she was like, oh, so, and in saying this, she's a buyer. So her entire career, she's been a buyer for, you know, a number of different brands, shoe brands, and now she does Culture Kings and things like that. So she has, you know, a lot of friends in China because she's been to the factory so many times. And anyway, she came back to me a week later and she's like, oh, so you know those like pouches and stuff that you have in your makeup kit? I was like, yeah. She's like, one of my really good friends, Vicky, her boss owns a factory that makes those in China. Wow. And I was like, no way. She's like, you should start your business. And I was like, and so it, you know, and it just so happened that, you know, I'd had some great opportunities. So financially, you know, we could afford to, humbly, I guess, like in a humble way, kind of like, it wasn't a big amount of money, but we had some money that we could kind of, you know, start to, I guess, make samples and things like that. And then we ended up going to China, and because I was really paranoid about like child labor, and I was like, I wanted to make sure that it was ethically made and all that sort of stuff. So we did go to China and we visited the factories, and it all came about really organically. And from there we found like a great sponge manufacturer. So we have sponges now as well. And it's just been this brand that I've kind of selfishly, I think, created things that I potentially would love in my kit, and hopefully other makeup artists, you know, will benefit from them as well. So one of the pouches we have is like a Zuka pouch, the traditional kind of pouch with the clear lid, but it expands like a suitcase. So it's, you know, more versatile. You can make it deep or you can make it a bit more shallow.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, just little things like that I was, you know, I'm always that person who's like, after a job, I'm like, I'm getting out of here, and like, you know, just like nothing fits in like it did before, and I always have to like repack it when I get home. But by having the expandable pouch, it's just like you just expand it, put everything in, and then deal with it when you get home, and then you can Tetris it all nicely afterwards. But also we do, right here, I've just finished work, so we've got our little brush holder. So has 2 pockets on the side. It's got 2 straps like that. And yeah, you can either use it as like a little on-set bag. I've got another one that I use on set, just to have a few touch-up products and a few brushes and bits and pieces in, rather than having, I was finding that I was using like a really large set bag and just like lugging around all this stuff that I rarely needed. So I kind of thought, oh, having a little mini one with just the products that you need to touch up, I found, you know, good for me personally. So hopefully, you know, work for other people too. And we do a couple of other pouches that have that you can dispense tissues from, and it velcros onto the front of this.
Oh, that's
and yeah, it's just like a little mix and match sort of range that we definitely want to expand on in the future. I would like, my vision for Kitology is definitely like a one-stop shop where if you're, you know, a makeup artist, we have all of the things to organize your kit. So, and for me, like so many people say, I do lots on my Instagram of like my setups and my kit and things like that. And I've always, like, I think been the person that's a little bit inside my head, a bit of a scatterbrain. Like I can be, you know, like a creative or whatever, but if my kit is organized and I have a system, how I set up, I find that's in order. and then I'm not so muddled when I'm trying to, you know, do my job. So I find that's really important for me, having a place for everything. And then also I set up pretty much the same way every time I do makeup as well, just to kind of keep my mind a little bit organized, and then I can, you know, create on a face, you know. So I think it was something that kind of organically happened, and, you know, now it's doing really well, and I'm really proud of it, and definitely got a long way to go. I definitely have a lot to learn in terms of business. I never imagined myself to be a business person. I've always been the creative person, but I think, you know, it's a really great way to learn about yourself and to grow and develop, and hopefully it will one day be that kind of, you know, household name where you just get your kit stuff from Kitology. So yeah, and we also have the softest sponges in the world.
Awesome.
Like, no one believes me until they touch them. So
I don't think I've touched them.
Get your mitts on them. Like at we just did Australian Beauty Expo, and I did like a masterclass, and one of the classes we had about 52 people in it, and I was saying, and these are the softest sponges, and even the model was like, this sponge is so soft on my face, and I was like, I know, and everyone's like, yeah, and I was like, you guys don't believe me. And so I said to my assistant, I was like, please hand out some sponges for people to pass around, because, and then everyone's like, oh wow, these actually are really soft, and I was like, no one believes me until I say it. So you know, it just gives a nice, you know, blend on the face, really great experience for whoever's in your chair, which I'm huge on. I don't believe in, you know, jabbing people in the face and making them kind of, you know, feel uncomfortable. I believe like doing makeup should be a beautiful experience for both people involved. It shouldn't ever be painful for your model or your person in your chair. So those soft sponges, I think, are an extension of how I think that the experience should be in the makeup chair. But hopefully we'll expand onto so many more products one day. But it's a slow burn.
And so where can people find out about the products, and they can purchase them online, or are they available just in stores? Or
we sell online. Now that Makeup and Glow are open Mondays and Tuesdays, you can actually go in there and see the products if you're in Brisbane. But apart from that, it's all online. We have kitology.com.au, which is our website, so you can buy from there. Also, makeupandglow.com.au, you can buy from their website. Edit Kit also stock them, but I'm not sure how much stock they have, or if they're continuing to stock. That's a bit of a questionable one. We also have a very exciting venture coming up that I'm not going to say what it is yet, but will soon be stocked on another amazing Australian beauty site.
Oh, awesome. Big and are they available? So do you ship internationally? Because I know that
we do.
The blog that we do have, people
worldwide. At the moment, we're only shipping with Australia Post, but we're soon to be getting another international shipping agent, which will bring the cost down for international shipping. So we hope that then it'll just be more affordable. But the reason I did start this brand was for Australians. I feel like there's so much in the world, and then by the time we order it online, we pay for shipping and get it to our house, we've paid $1 million for something. And
the exchange rate.
Exactly. And so that's, I think, primarily the main reason why I started this brand, was because in Australia, we don't have access to everything in the way that, you know, the US have, you know, so many options with their Amazon and all that stuff. Everything's free shipping, everything's amazing. But as soon as you say, oh, I'm from Australia, it's like $100 is added or whatever, you know, like, and we have our luxury tax and all these sorts of taxes that a lot of people internationally don't understand. So that was the main reason why I started this brand, is that so that us Australian artists can have something that, you know, we're not, you know, paying through the roof for, and it's, you know, we can get it in a couple of days. So I think that was primarily one of the reasons why I thought, you know, we don't get everything here, like give us a go.
Exactly.
We have a Kitology Instagram as well. It's Kitology _ with a K. I wonder if I've got something, if you can see the logo.
There we go. Yep.
Kitology.
Perfect.
So it's Kitology _ It's, if you go to my Instagram, it's on there as well.
Yeah.
Shameless. plugs.
No, absolutely. All right, just a couple of super quick questions. I think we have covered off on a lot of the questions that
good.
people have asked. One of them is more a technical question, I guess, talking about your favorite products for creating glowing skin. Now, I know, you are fortunate in that you probably get sent a lot of PR. So
Yes.
you probably get to play with a lot of different products all of the time. But perhaps tell us like something that is a current favorite, something that's a recent discovery. But also if you want to tell us, is there something that you've like a favorite product that you've had in your kit since way back when? Yeah.
Okay. So something I've always had in my kit for not always. I've probably had in my kit for about 8 years is Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. I've had that, like that's always a staple in my kit. And that for me is something that I mix with Laura Mercier Radiance Primer if I want super glowy skin. So there are kind of two products that I use a lot. A lot of the glowy skin happens in Queensland. I mean, look at my skin. I'm like, it's hot here, like it's gonna happen. But something new that I've just tried that I really love is the Bondi Sands Glow Lights.
Yeah,
liquids.
I saw that in your Insta story. Was it your story?
I was amazed by it. I was like, it's because it kind of like I did some swatches on my hand and I was like, and then I got distracted by life, and then I went back and they like would not blend in because they were like on. They were like on there. And I was like, you know what? That's a really great, I guess, thing for a glow product is to have a bit of staying power because you don't want to look greasy.
Yeah.
You want to look glowy. And so if it's not an oily, glowy product, something that's going to set is going to look glowy and not go greasy. So I've been really loving it. I've been using that ever since I got it. Probably like a week ago. I've used it on like every makeup I've done. And my favorite color is Pearl from that one. And another, glowy skin. I like the Tatcha Luminous Mist, like the spray. So if I wanted to be really, like I love like MAC Fix Plus and that, like I spray the skin so many times throughout the makeup just to kind of make it like settle into the face, into the skin. But I often use that, the Tatcha Dewy Mist at the end if I want it to be really glowy. But yeah, that's probably my best one. I use Tom Ford Traceless Perfecting Foundation a lot as well. You get like a bit more staying power than the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk. But it's still like a glowy long wear foundation, not super matte.
Yeah.
In humidity, it kind of holds up a bit better than like Luminous Silk. If I'm on set, I'm happy to like touch it up all day. It looks beautiful and it blends back into the skin nicely and stuff. But I think probably one of my best tips for doing glowy skin is not to powder. Like I see people and they're like, oh, like, but what do you set it with? And I'm like, I use the sprays like constantly. But then the great thing about not powdering or strategically powdering, like, you know, I might powder kind of in here, like especially if we're shooting studio and and maybe a bit of powder on the forehead because, you know, you don't want to look like you're glowing you know, off the radar. But I think then the key to that is being able to touch up.
Yeah.
Because you're not having to, you can just kind of buff it all back into the skin. And I often use my sponges and I just throughout the day buff it all back into the skin and it just kind of stays glowy and beautiful all day. Whereas if you're putting powder everywhere, it's hard then to go back if you need to add extra concealer. It starts getting cakey.
Exactly.
So I think that's probably something that people are always surprised that I rarely powder. And if I do powder, the powder I use is the By Terry Hydra powder, which has hyaluronic acid in it. So it's a super hydrating powder anyway. There's no talc in it.
Yeah.
So, because I always find like you do like a beautiful makeup and the skin looks like skin and it looks juicy and amazing. And then you go and put powder on it. It's like, oh, now it just looks like a makeup face.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So that's probably my biggest thing. But in saying that, I work a lot on set. I work a lot, you know, I'm not doing bridal, but I did a bride on the weekend. I don't think I powdered her very much. I just do a lot of those MAC Fix Plus spray throughout it. Even me and Nicole Thompson always joke about how we basically drink Fix Plus. We just like in the mouth, everywhere, you know, like I just think it's, you know, it kind of just sets every layer on the skin, and then, you know, it still looks dewy and beautiful. That answered some questions, but I do use a lot of like glowy products. Like even when I use a blush, it's usually got a hint, you know, it's usually glowy or like a cream blush or something. So that's going to add glow. It's lots of layering. It's not always just the foundation.
Exactly. And it's, you know, that glowy look is so in right now that, you know, I find it really interesting how things go through, you know, for a while it was really matte skin and now it's become glowy rather than stripy highlighter, and
which is great. Because for doing like a highlighter, one of my all-time favorite products for doing like a highlight is the Elizabeth Arden 8-hour cream.
8-hour cream, right.
Love it. Just highlight, and then it just looks like shine. It doesn't have any glitter in it. It just looks like the skin is like shiny. And another great kind of option for something like that as well is the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate. Like not the contour color obviously, but the Shade and Illuminate is a really great non-glittery highlighter that you know, you just it's not going to stay all day, but it's one of those ones that's like, if you want that really sheeny kind of like, you know, they turn to the side and it looks wet, that your kind of highlighters, well, that I love. But you know, I still do the old e-com where I'm putting, you know, glittery highlighters everywhere, you know, to make it glow. But in general, that's probably my favorite little tip is 8-hour cream.
All right, so the final question is one I like to ask a lot of people. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, your younger makeup artist self, what would that one piece of advice be?
Oh my goodness. I think the advice would be, that's a really hard one.
I know, sorry.
No, it's okay. I think trust your gut more. Because I think like I have quite good intuition naturally, and I never trusted that before. And I think earlier on, you know, you would get like a reference photo, you know, for a bride or whoever's sitting in your chair, and you'd be like, oh, okay. And like deep down, you'd be like, oh, that's not going to look good. And you go and you do it anyway because, you know, you pay me the money, I'll do the things, like, you know. And then it turns out, you know, not great. And then you think to yourself, I should have told them what I thought would look better. I think now I'm so much better at doing that, of going, you know what, I'm the professional doing the makeup. I need to give myself some credit about having that expertise and actually take the professional stance and give my opinion on what I think will be the best in terms of like having the best result for your face or the shoot vibe or whatever. Because I think earlier on I would just go with what everyone just told me to do. And often, you know, a few times it's been like, oh, that's turned out pear-shaped, or, you know, and now people give me a reference and I'd be like, you know what, that's a macro shot of an eye with a cut crease and there's glitter. You pull that back, it's not going to look great. Like, we're better off doing this, or even so, like sometimes they would give you this like intricate like reference photo of makeup that's like, you know, rainbow, like, you know, gradient, whatever. And then like after spending, you know, however long on this intricate makeup, you realize they're shooting like full length shots. And you don't even see it. And, you know, a part of you inside, like initially is like, oh, I don't know if that's really going to be worth the time, but I guess I won't say anything. And then down the road, they're like, you took so long to do that makeup and, you know, now we can't even see it. And I'm like, I should have told them. So I think definitely if I was telling my younger self, just like really trust, you know, your intuition and your gut of what artistically you think is going to work best, or even logistically, you know, like, you know, what's going to work for the time frame, or what's going to work for the actual, you know, way that they're shooting it, or you know, for the person who's going to an event, like, is that going to look stupid in real life? So I think definitely just trusting that, you know, you're booked for a reason because you're a professional, and to really like trust yourself and to, you know, trust that your experience has got you to where you are. Therefore, you do have the right to have a professional input and an opinion in, you know, every circumstance. So you don't need to be rude about it, but like, I think, you know, yeah, just trusting my initial gut feeling on most things. And even those jobs where, you know, like, or even like a free job or something that you're doing like cheap on the cheap, like, because you think you're going to get like great images or whatever. And you know how sometimes you just like feel a bit weird about it. And then you get there and you're like, this is a waste of time. This is like stupid. I've done it so many times. I'm like, why am I here? I'm so annoyed. I'm texting my husband going, this is a waste of time. He's like, you told me it was going to be a waste of time. Why did you say yes? Like, you know, and it's just like, trust that initial gut feeling. And, you know, but I think that could be like a maturity thing as well. When I started makeup, like freelancing, I was like 24. Like, that's pretty, you know, whereas I think life experience, you know, allows you to trust yourself more as well. But yeah, definitely that initial, I don't know if that's going to work situation, and going, no, I'm here for a reason. They've booked me as a professional. This is my opinion on what I think we should do or what should happen. Yeah. Definitely
awesome. Fantastic. Well, Penny, thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we finish off? I love talking about makeup. So if any of you have any other questions or whatever, send me like a message. Yeah, because I'm always happy to help out. If anyone has questions or whatever, feel free to get in contact. And where can people find you online? Instagram,
Penny Antuar. It's my Instagram handle. I will soon have another website. I took it down. I was so embarrassed. I was like, I have not updated that for about 6 years, and no one needs to be seeing that work. So I've just got like a girl doing it now. So that should be up soon. It will just be pennyantuar.com. But mostly my Instagram. Yeah. I've got a Facebook as well, but I don't often go on there. But Penny Antuar, makeup artist. But thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So thank you